In the quiet town of Willowbrook, where autumn leaves painted the streets in shades of gold and crimson, Halloween was more than just a holiday. It was a tradition, an event that sent shivers down the spines of both young and old. The townsfolk would eagerly prepare for the spooky night, adorning their houses with cobwebs and jack-o'-lanterns, and the air would be filled with the scent of cinnamon and burning wood. But this year, something sinister lurked beneath the surface of Willowbrook. It began innocently enough, with strange occurrences that were dismissed as mere pranks. Windows rattled in the dead of night, and shadows danced in the moonlight. Whispers echoed through the autumn breeze, and some claimed to have seen ghostly figures flit past their windows. As Halloween approached, the atmosphere grew more ominous. The once friendly neighbors became reclusive, and laughter turned to nervous glances. One by one, the pumpkins in the town square began to wither, their grinning faces contorting into grotesque expressions. The children, usually eager to roam the streets in search of candies, hesitated, feeling an unexplainable fear in their hearts. At the heart of the town stood Willowbrook Manor, an ancient mansion that had long been abandoned. Legend had it that it was haunted by the spirits of the family who had lived there centuries ago. On Halloween night, the manor was said to come alive with malevolent energy, and its windows glowed with an eerie light. A group of brave teenagers decided to investigate the rumors. Thinking it was just a hoax, they gathered on Halloween night, armed with flashlights and courage, and ventured into the dark corridors of Willowbrook Manor. The air inside was heavy with the scent of decay, and the walls seemed to whisper long-forgotten secrets. As they explored deeper, the group felt the temperature drop, and the atmosphere grew suffocating. Shadows danced on the walls, taking sinister shapes that clawed at the edges of their sanity. The creaking floorboards beneath their feet seemed to mimic the slow heartbeat of the ancient house, sending shudders through their spines. In one of the rooms, they found an old diary, its pages yellowed with age. As they read the words of the long-dead author, they learned of a terrible curse that had befallen the town centuries ago. The curse, it seemed, was tied to Halloween night, and every year, the spirits of the cursed family awakened, seeking revenge for the injustice done to them. Suddenly, the doors slammed shut, trapping the teenagers inside. Panic ensued as the walls seemed to close in around them. The diary floated in the air, its pages flipping frantically as if possessed by an unseen force. The ghostly figures of the cursed family materialized before their eyes hollow and filled with malice. Desperate to escape, the teenagers tried to break the windows, but an invisible barrier kept them inside. The ghosts advanced, their fingers like icy daggers reaching for the intruders. Just as all hope seemed lost, a brave girl in the group remembered a passage from the diary. With trembling hands, she recited an incantation meant to appease the restless spirits. To their astonishment, the ghosts halted, their ethereal forms flickering like dying candle flames. The atmosphere in the room shifted, and the air grew lighter. With bated breath, the teenagers recited the incantation once more, and the ghosts let out a mournful wail before dissolving into nothingness. The invisible barrier lifted, and the doors swung open, releasing the teenagers from the clutches of the cursed manor. They stumbled out, shaken but alive, the horror of their ordeal etched into their minds forever. From that day on, the curse of Willowbrook Manor was broken, and the town slowly returned to normalcy. Halloween, once a night of terror, became a celebration of bravery and unity. The tale of the haunted manor was passed down through generations, a cautionary story reminding the townsfolk to respect the ancient spirits that dwelled in the shadows. But deep within the walls of Willowbrook Manor, a faint whisper lingered, a remnant of the vengeful spirits that had been appeased. And every Halloween night, as the moon hung high in the sky, the wind carried their voices through the rustling leaves, serving as a chilling reminder of the horrors that once plagued the town of Willowbrook. In the small, quiet town of Willowbrook, there was an air of excitement and trepidation as the Halloween night approached. The townsfolk had always celebrated the holiday with enthusiasm, adorning their houses with spooky decorations, carving intricate pumpkins, and planning elaborate costumes for the annual Halloween parade. However, this year, there was an unusual buzz in the air, a feeling of unease that seemed to permeate the atmosphere. As the sun dipped below the horizon on Halloween Eve, the town began to transform. Streetlights flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance to an otherworldly rhythm. The wind howled through the empty streets, carrying whispers of long-forgotten legends and spine-chilling tales. Children hurried home after school, their footsteps quickening as darkness settled over Willowbrook. In the heart of the town stood an ancient, decrepit mansion. Its windows were boarded up, and ivy snaked its way around the decaying walls. The mansion was said to be haunted, its history tainted by a dark and sinister past. Legend had it that a wicked sorcerer had once resided there, practicing forbidden rituals and casting malevolent spells upon the town. Some claimed to have heard anguished cries echoing from within its walls on stormy nights, carried by the wind like a haunting melody. On this Halloween night, a group of daring teenagers decided to explore the infamous mansion. They were lured by the thrill of the unknown, their youthful curiosity overshadowing the ominous warnings of the townsfolk. Armed with flashlights and a false sense of bravery, they cautiously approached the mansion, their footsteps echoing in the silence of the night. As they entered the mansion, the air grew thick with an acrid scent, and the temperature dropped dramatically. Cobwebs hung like drapes from the ceiling, and the floor creaked beneath their weight. Ignoring the growing sense of dread, they ventured deeper into the mansion, their flashlights flickering in the darkness. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, and the group found themselves separated, each one trapped in a nightmarish tableau. One by one, they faced their worst fears brought to life: a phantasmal specter, a grotesque monster, and the suffocating grip of darkness. Outside, the townsfolk, sensing an impending disaster, gathered in a circle and began chanting ancient incantations, hoping to seal away the malevolent force that had been unleashed. The wind howled louder, and the ground trembled beneath their feet as they chanted with desperation. Inside the mansion, the teenagers fought valiantly against the horrors that surrounded them. With every ounce of strength, they resisted the sinister forces, their determination flickering like a dying candle in the face of an unrelenting storm. The walls of the mansion seemed to close in, and the very essence of evil enveloped them. But just as all hope seemed lost, the chanting of the townsfolk outside intensified, a crescendo of power that pierced the veil of darkness. The ancient incantations clashed with the malevolent energy, creating a blinding light that seared through the mansion. The force that had held the teenagers captive recoiled, shrieking in agony as it was banished back into the depths of the supernatural realm. With a final burst of strength, the teenagers broke free from the nightmare, stumbling out of the mansion and into the arms of the townsfolk. The moment the last teenager crossed the threshold, the mansion trembled, its walls groaning under the strain, and then it collapsed in on itself, vanishing into a cloud of dust and ash. The town of Willowbrook was safe once more, but the Halloween night would forever be etched in the memories of its inhabitants. The legend of the haunted mansion served as a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked at the fringes of their reality, a darkness that could only be kept at bay through unity, courage, and the ancient wisdom passed down through generations. And so, every Halloween night, the townsfolk gathered to honor the bravery of the teenagers who had faced the unspeakable horrors of the mansion. They lit candles and recited incantations, sending their gratitude into the night, a beacon of light in the face of the unknown. But little did they know that deep in the shadows, beyond their flickering candles and protective chants, something ancient and malevolent watched and waited, biding its time for the next opportunity to claw its way back into the world of the living, eager to unleash its terrifying wrath upon the unsuspecting town of Willowbrook once again. In the heart of a small, secluded town called Hollow Creek, Halloween was not just a night of costumes and candy. It was a night when the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest, and the spirits that once roamed the earth could return to seek revenge. Legend had it that on Halloween night, the town was haunted by a malevolent force, a dark entity that craved fear and fed on the souls of the innocent. As the sun dipped below the horizon on that fateful Halloween evening, the town's atmosphere shifted. A dense fog crept through the streets, obscuring the view of the moonlit sky. Children, unaware of the impending danger, excitedly dressed in their costumes and set out with their lanterns, blissfully unaware of the horror that awaited them. Among them was a curious young girl named Emily. She had recently moved to Hollow Creek with her family and had heard whispers about the town's eerie past. Ignoring the warnings of the locals, she ventured out alone, determined to uncover the truth behind the legends. As Emily wandered deeper into the town, she felt a chill in the air. The streetlights flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows on the cobblestone streets. Unnerved but undeterred, she pressed on, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Suddenly, she heard a soft, haunting melody drifting through the air. Mesmerized, she followed the music, leading her to an old, decrepit mansion at the edge of town. The mansion was rumored to be the epicenter of the town's supernatural occurrences, but Emily, driven by her curiosity, pushed open the creaky gate and entered. Inside, the mansion was shrouded in darkness. The only source of light came from a flickering candle, illuminating a grand hall adorned with faded portraits and tattered tapestries. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and Emily felt an overwhelming sense of dread. As she ventured further into the mansion, she heard faint whispers echoing through the halls. The walls seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy, and Emily realized that the house was alive with the presence of vengeful spirits. Terrified, she tried to flee, but the doors slammed shut, trapping her inside. A ghostly figure materialized before her, its hollow eyes staring into her soul. It spoke in a chilling, ethereal voice, recounting the tale of Hollow Creek's darkest secret. Long ago, a powerful sorcerer cursed the town, binding the souls of its residents to the mansion. Every Halloween night, the spirits were released, seeking retribution for the sins of the living. Emily's heart raced as the mansion trembled with the anger of the trapped souls. The ghostly figure warned her that the only way to lift the curse was to confront the sorcerer's spirit and break the spell that bound the town. With newfound determination, Emily set out on a treacherous journey through the mansion's labyrinthine corridors, facing terrifying apparitions and solving cryptic puzzles. Finally, in the depths of the mansion, she confronted the malevolent spirit of the sorcerer. With bravery in her heart, she challenged him, demanding he release the town from his curse. The sorcerer, enraged by her audacity, unleashed his dark powers, enveloping Emily in a whirlwind of shadows. But Emily, fueled by the spirits of the town's lost souls, stood her ground. With a burst of courage, she uttered ancient words, banishing the sorcerer's spirit and shattering the curse that had plagued Hollow Creek for centuries. The mansion trembled one final time before collapsing into ruins, freeing the spirits that had been trapped within its walls. As dawn broke, Hollow Creek was reborn, no longer haunted by the horrors of its past. And so, the town celebrated Halloween with newfound joy, remembering the bravery of a young girl who had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. But deep in the shadows, the memory of that terrifying night lingered, a reminder that even in the face of the most malevolent forces, courage could triumph over fear, and light could banish the deepest darkness. In the small town of Willowbrook, nestled deep within the dense forests of New England, Halloween was more than just a night of costumes and candy. It was a time when the veil between the living and the dead grew thin, and the supernatural forces that lurked in the shadows gained strength. Legends whispered of an ancient curse that had befallen the town centuries ago, and every Halloween, the townsfolk would brace themselves for what was to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon on the eve of Halloween, a chilling wind swept through the streets of Willowbrook. The townspeople hurried home, locking their doors and windows, and lighting candles to ward off the darkness. Children clutched their candy bags tightly, their eyes wide with both excitement and fear. Among the children was Emily, a curious and adventurous girl of 12. Despite the warnings from her parents and the ominous stories told by the elders, Emily couldn't resist the allure of exploring the town on Halloween night. As the clock struck midnight, she sneaked out of her house, determined to uncover the secrets that shrouded Willowbrook. With each step she took, the air grew colder, and the atmosphere became thick with an otherworldly energy. Unbeknownst to Emily, the ancient curse that plagued the town had stirred, and the spirits of long-dead witches and restless souls began to awaken. As Emily ventured deeper into the heart of Willowbrook, she stumbled upon an old, decrepit mansion hidden amidst the trees. Its windows were shattered, and the ivy-covered walls seemed to pulsate with an eerie glow. Against her better judgment, Emily entered the mansion, guided by an unseen force. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. Shadows danced on the walls, casting sinister shapes that seemed to come alive. Emily felt an icy hand brush against her shoulder, and she turned to see the ghostly figure of a woman, her eyes hollow and filled with a malevolent hunger. "You shouldn't have come here," the ghostly woman whispered, her voice echoing through the empty halls. "This place is cursed, and you are now trapped within its walls." Terror gripped Emily's heart as she realized the gravity of her situation. The mansion was a labyrinth of twisted corridors and haunted chambers, each one more terrifying than the last. The spirits that roamed the halls whispered dreadful secrets, their voices blending into a cacophony of despair. Emily's cries for help went unanswered, drowned out by the wails of the damned. Hours turned into days, and days into nights, but time seemed to lose all meaning within the mansion's cursed confines. She encountered vengeful spirits, each one seeking retribution for the sins of the living. The walls bled with the memories of the past, and the very essence of Halloween itself seemed to seep into Emily's bones, filling her with a darkness she had never known. Meanwhile, back in the town of Willowbrook, the nights grew longer, and the days became shrouded in an eternal twilight. The townsfolk, gripped by fear, sought the help of the town's oldest resident, an enigmatic figure known as the Witch of the Woods. She was said to possess ancient knowledge of the supernatural and held the key to breaking the curse that bound the town. With a sense of urgency, a group of brave souls ventured into the heart of the forest. Guided by the flickering light of jack-o'-lanterns, they found the Witch of the Woods, a woman as old as time itself, her eyes gleaming with an otherworldly wisdom. The curse that befalls Willowbrook is ancient and powerful, the witch explained, her voice like the rustling leaves. It can only be broken by a selfless act of bravery, a sacrifice that transcends the boundaries between the living and the dead. Determined to save Emily and their town, the group set out on a perilous journey to find the mansion that had become a prison for the young girl. Guided by the whispers of the wind and the light of the moon, they reached the mansion's imposing gates. Inside, they faced horrors beyond imagination, twisted apparitions, rooms that defied the laws of reality, and the anguished cries of the souls trapped within. Yet, they pressed on, driven by their unwavering resolve. In the heart of the mansion, they found Emily, her eyes devoid of hope. The spirits that surrounded her hissed and snarled, seeking to drag the intruders into the abyss. But the group stood their ground, their belief in the power of courage and love unyielding. With a final, desperate act, one of the members of the group offered themselves as a sacrifice, willingly embracing the curse to save Emily and the town. The mansion trembled, and the spirits shrieked in agony as the curse began to unravel. In a blinding flash of light, the curse was broken, the mansion crumbled into dust, and the restless souls were finally set free. The town of Willowbrook was bathed in the warm glow of the sun, breaking the eternal night that had gripped the land. As for the brave soul who had sacrificed themselves, they became a legend, their name whispered through the generations as a symbol of selflessness and bravery. From that Halloween onwards, Willowbrook celebrated the holiday with a newfound reverence, honoring the sacrifice that had saved their town. But deep within the shadows, the spirits of the cursed mansion lingered, a reminder of the darkness that could descend upon the world if the boundary between the living and the dead was ever disrupted again. And so, every Halloween, the town of Willowbrook remained vigilant, ensuring that the ancient curse was never awakened, and the horrors of that fateful night were never repeated.